because the idea looks good. We had this mate, I'm going back through, I don't know, 5 years ago, another thing. 5 years ago, this is a true story. We had this mate, used to drive us friggin' nuts. He's always going to write a book. Right? You ever had one of those friends who's going to do it? I'm going to write a book, going to write a book. Gosh, we should write that friggin' book. So 6 of us put some money in. We gave him some money, have 6 months off work and go and write the book. Right? You got no excuses anymore. You got to write the book. After 2 months, he rang us all up. Said, I'm not going to do the book. I realised now I didn't really want to do it. I just thought I did. And that's like someone's facing business. Sometimes it looks good, it looks fancy. Like how many people want to open a coffee shop? It just sounds so easy. You just get make a cup of coffee, there we go, you get $4. Coffee only costs 32 cents, so I'll make all this money. Bullshit, I had a coffee shop, it's the biggest disaster. I got a master's degree making mistakes, I told you. You got a coffee, you got to pay someone like $25 an hour to go and make that cup of coffee. If it's a public holiday, you got to pay them $50 an hour to make a cup of coffee. They give all their mates coffee for nothing. They spill a third, and then it pours down rain. No one comes in the coffee shop, and you got all this coffee and all this staff, and no one's going to buy any. That's good fun. Coffee shop, it's like good fun. Because you didn't do this, you didn't do a plan to it. You know, so you got to, like even going into the business, looks like fun, but is it? And everything you do in your life has to be fun. You got to make it fun. If you dig a hole in the ground, you got to make it fun. At least I'm not digging my buddy. I'm not going to be buried here. It's got to be good. Look, you're planting a tree. This is the best tree being planted in the world right now. Take pride in it. You just say it's not. So it comes back. It has to be up to you. You do the best you can with what you've got. Whatever you've got. You know what I mean? I've just 30 seconds. Your bloke says, oh, we can't do this job, we haven't got a bobcat. Look, wheelbarrow, shovels, that's all you need. That's all you need. You're just going to move that to there. Oh, no, the bobcat does it in 30 seconds. Okay, you're not going to do it in 3 hours. Good. But it's going to be done. No excuses. Whatever you've got, do the best you can with what you've got to get what you want to get. And enjoy life. Sorry about that.
Questions for Mick, but we'll leave them to the end. So while Lauren, I think, wants to get her book over. So I'll introduce Lauren Woodbridge, and like I said, Lauren's one of our shining cases. So Lauren Woodbridge, over to you.
Okay. A lot of my story is basically the moral to how I came to understand the things Mick was talking about. How I was raised to understand these things and to truly, truly believe in them. So I figure I'll just start from the start. Hi, I'm Lauren. I have Asperger's, or as it's now called, ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. Not to a huge degree, just enough that some people didn't notice and some people noticed enough to hate me. I'm here today because I had, as Lynda was saying, a very different life, a very different approach that led me to the place I am now. Yeah, so in the direction of that life. I'm a family of, I'm one of 5, with 2 wonderful parents who are still together, which is rare these days. I have 5 very wonderful siblings who all have their pluses and minuses. I have, let's say I'll start from the youngest, my youngest brother, Bill. We were always very much the pair, getting into trouble together, running around together, sharing the same friends, sharing the same adventures, fighting like cats and dogs. But it was always remarked that when we would go to competitions and things, because of our family dynamic, it was us against the world. It was never us against each other when we were out in public. It was us against the world, and that's the way we treated life. My second older sister, I'm the second youngest, Mandy, or Amanda. She was very much the rebel child, having boyfriends at 13, partying, going out, trying all the things so we didn't have to. And she's always brought energy to my life. She always showed me that she would always invite me out with her friends, even if they were nothing like me and I had no idea what they were talking about. She would always encourage me to try new things and meet new people, and it wasn't my cup of tea, but she always provided that in my life. My older brother, Chris, he was always very much the rock of the family. He's the nice, calm, supportive person who works in the public service and earns a fortune and takes care of all of us on our birthdays, makes good decisions. So yeah, Chris has always been there as kind of the backbone of the siblings to help keep us all in line. My older sister, Lisa, we've got a decent age gap between me and my older sister, so there have been plenty of times where we don't understand each other too well. But she's helped me out a lot in the life as far as, you know, being the older sibling, is helping her out in difficult situations. You know, I think she saved my life twice so far. Once from falling out of a tree, she managed to catch me, and another time going down a river, I got caught under a branch and she managed to pull me out. So, you know, I wouldn't be here without my sister, quite literally. So my mum and dad, they're spectacular parents. They certainly made mistakes along the way, as every parent does. But I was always given to understand that there were no excuses. I was different, that was fine, but there was no reason I could misbehave just because I was different. I still had to get along with people. I still had all the same rules as my other siblings. I still had to try everything. And anything I did try, I was appreciated for. If I went out to give a new sport a go, then hey, I'm going to be the champion of that sport one day. Here, you're going to be a world champion, you're going to go to the Olympics. That's any new thing I approached, that was the goal my parents would give me. It's a little bit hard to live up to, but... so I didn't exactly have the easiest run, I guess, through youth, because that's when my problem was its most prevalent. So say through kindergarten, I was quite literally a kindergarten dropout. I didn't get along so well with the other kids. The teacher pinned that there was something different about me and didn't like it, so I dropped out of kindergarten. When it came to primary school, we moved a lot. I think I went to 9 different primary schools. In my 25 years, I've lived in 24 different houses and 2 different countries. But yeah, so during primary school, I was always pretty good at the first introductions. You know, I'd get a couple of friends with the first introductions and then give it a week or 2. And yeah, that would all move very pear-shaped. But one of the biggest things I did achieve from that moving was that constant change. And as anyone who knows someone with autism spectrum disorder will know, routine can be a big issue. You can get very, very stuck in routine. And part of this having to move and change all the time meant I never got stuck in routine. I had to learn to adapt and adjust to new situations and learn new things and meet new people. I really had no choice. Yeah, so we had plenty of dodgy experiences. Yeah. In New Zealand, we moved there for 18 months chasing work, after having travelled the country for 6 months doing pony rides as basically carnies, which was great fun. Yeah, when we moved to New Zealand, me and my brother were in the same school, and we just kept coming up against just bizarre situations. There was one primary school there. We ended up I didn't go to school one day, so my brother ended up getting chased around the school, getting rocks thrown at him. And, you know, just like truly brutal situations that kids go through in these environments. In the school where they're just left to be, you know. I very regularly went through the situation of having, teachers always tell you, if something goes wrong, tell the teacher about it. We would tell the teacher every time something went wrong. They'd get bored of it. Yeah, things kept going wrong, so they'd just give up. I mean, what are you supposed to do when 5 times a day something's going wrong? And not little things either. But, you know, that's just the where they have no way of dealing with that. They have no concept or understanding. We have to effectively buck up or shut up and learn. Yeah, when we moved back to Canberra, that was probably a big turning point to me, because that was when I got diagnosed. It still really didn't change a whole lot, but it was interesting to know. That was after getting in a fight in primary school. All the popular girls, of course. Yeah, as usual. And just another one of those cases of I just didn't react the same way a child was expected to react. Brought into the principal's office, the other girls had a big cry, oh, Lauren's so mean, this and that. And I just sat there and I logically told her, fact for fact, exactly what happened. Because I didn't cry, of course I was telling a lie. I got that quite a lot in life. I never showed the appropriate emotional response, so the verbal response I was giving was meaningless. So I was very lucky teachers-wise. I was always in a class with very good teachers that were very sympathetic and actually willing to build me up and explain things to me. I had one teacher in primary school who I was very focused on fairness. Fairness was a big deal to me. If something wasn't fair, I'd lose it. And I had all the other kids in school stealing my connector pens. Yeah, incredibly unfair. So I went for the logical decision, I was going to steal them back. Yeah, and I told the teacher I was going to do this. Yeah, it's only fair. They stole them, I'm going to steal them back. The teacher, to all credit to her, she sat down and explained to me how it would be unfair if I stole the connector pens back, because I couldn't prove exactly which ones were mine, and what if I accidentally then stole one of theirs, which would then be unfair. I was like, oh, fine, I guess, there's not much I can do about it. So that was primary school life. Evatt Primary, when I moved to Canberra, was probably the first time I ever actually got friends at a school. It was interesting. First, I made a couple of mistakes early on. I made one really good friend who, we went back and forth to each other's houses a couple of times. And, then the friend was getting in trouble from my mum, and I did what, any good friend would do and complained about how horrible her mum was with her. Of course, mum heard that, so I never got to speak to her again. I ended up with some very strong friends who made the choice between effectively being my friend and being an outcast, because that was the way it was. Either if you were my friend, you had no other friends, only who was in my group. Or, ditching me. And I'm very proud of the 3 or 4 people I still have as friends that made that choice. The difficult part then came when we moved to high school. I chose a high school that was focused on my future goals, which was agriculture, horses, horse training, that sort of thing. So I chose a high school that was prominent in that area. Unfortunately, all the people who didn't like me went back to that school, and none of my friends did. So I ended up with a very poor base. I tried to make new friends out of the school. I managed to make a couple, but schooling just really wasn't working out for me. I did well in the actual learning department, but as far as the environment to learn, just not a match. Just very much not a match. So from high school, I had a lot of trust issues. I found it very hard to communicate with people without taking things as an offence, because I was used to being talked to in an offensive manner. Even people, like I realise now, who sometimes were just coming up and saying something to you, expecting you to kind of have a go back or a joke together. I just didn't get that. So I missed a lot of those opportunities. I would give the wrong reaction, so then it would turn into, yeah, effectively, Lauren, you're a bitch. Actually, when I left primary school, there's one experiment. which I was very interested in experiments, social experiments, and learning why people think what they do. I actually asked 45 people why they didn't like me. It was the last day, I figured it couldn't do any more harm. And one of the most interesting responses is I asked a young kid, why do you hate Lauren Woodbridge? Oh, because she's a bitch. He didn't even know he was talking to me. It was just the fact of the way that social structure had built and the way the people had networked and built their environment to be so closed that effectively I had no hope. Change my name, maybe. Yeah, and the similar thing was built up through high school too. Again, I had a very good friend. We were getting along very well. And she had 2 friends as well. We were a nice little outcast group. But effectively I was only going to school maybe 4 out of 5 days. I couldn't handle much more than that. And she ended up, the other friends make the decision, either you're our friends or you're hers. I just wasn't there enough for her. So yeah, I was effectively, so I left that school after year 7, tried another school. And that was when I went to new school, which was Ginderra High. That was a very bizarre experience because for the first time in my life, no one knew who I was before I got there. And so I actually had people treating me like I was a normal person, like a normal teenager. And I found myself making some really bad decisions just from trying to keep these people happy. And there was one scenario there where, for the first time, I was actually part of the group of young girls who were saying, hey, let's make this rumour about someone. I was like, oh, this doesn't seem like a very good thing to do, but I didn't know what to do or what to say about it. I didn't know how to react in that situation. I'd never been there before. Usually I was at the receiving end. But, you know, so I found out very shortly that I didn't like being in that scenario, making those bad decisions. So I basically cut ties there. And I was very, very, very lucky at that point because we had the horses, which I'd had a little bit all over my life, which had been, you know, very much a backbone to my life, somewhere I felt really comfortable, somewhere I felt like what I was doing was good. And Mum went for a random trail ride. She met a random lady, and this random lady pointed out a random little yellow sign, which Mum has tattooed on her ankle now, which was the sign for the Bicentennial National Trail. And this trail goes from Hillsville in Victoria to Cape York in Queensland. And Mum, being a doer, went, hey, I want to do that. So about halfway through year 8, we left. Me and my younger brother and Mum, we hit the trail. We headed up north. And, you know, while that was a huge, huge turning point in my life, there was a couple of stories that really exemplify why that's so. You know, there was one point on the trail where we were going through a town called Toogoolawah. We were parked on the outskirts in the tent with all the horses. Well, not the horses in the tent, you know what I mean? And a truck driver that we'd met earlier, he pulled up and went, hey, do you realise there's a cyclone coming? So we were a bit, oh, okay. Went into the local showgrounds, asked for help, you know, and they basically said, no, we don't have insurance, you've got to move on. So we went to the cops, we asked, hey, is there anywhere we can go? There's a cyclone coming, it was starting to rain at this point. And they said, no, there's no way we can send you, there's no one we can help. So we ended up, Mum with 3 teenagers, ended up heading 20 kilometres up the, which highway was it? Ipswich. Up the Ipswich highway with the cyclone coming. Raining, pouring, cold. So, I know. About halfway there. Yeah, I know, so. I've never talked for 20 minutes in my life. So.
Doing very well.
So, yeah, halfway there, someone pulled up in their car and went, what the hell are you doing? Don't you have anywhere to go? And he turned out to be a politician who was actually running for a seat in the next town. And he pulled some strings, and by the time we got to the next town, We had a place for the horses to stay, a house for us to stay, the op shop at that town gave us all free changes of clothes. Yeah, it was just a massive change from the worst of human society, the bureaucracy, to true goodness. And we saw that so often on the trail. Just simple things like going through a small town and a lady meeting us and just giving us a bag of nectarines. Just fresh, beautiful fruit, still the best thing I've ever eaten. And there was other just points where just the strength of character that we needed was life-changing. You know, there was one point there when we went through the Guy Fawkes National Park, and on the way down, all was well, and started raining halfway down, but while we were down there, the rain flooded both the rivers, and we couldn't get out. What was effectively supposed to be a day and a half ride, we was trapped for 5 days. Yeah, not fun. I think, and it took, we were running out of food, it took a lot of courage, you know, Mum being Mum tried to not eat. So, you know, as kids, it was actually, we had to take up the reins and say, no, everyone has to have a share. We're all getting a quarter of this can of baked beans. And work our way through. On the final day where we actually made it out, my brother nearly drowned. We went to cross a river, and you know, he made it across just as the tester. And so we tried to move up a little bit to test another spot. He made it through really well until about halfway, where he just went down. And it was sorry. It was only because he was holding on to his pony that he actually survived, because the horse managed to get his feet after going over a little waterfall, and yeah, just ended up stuck in the water but still standing. So after that, Mum wasn't game, she wasn't going to do it anymore after seeing that, and fair enough. But the next day, after, when we decided to give it another go, we were just like, no, we're getting out of here. And once crossing that river, we actually made it out. And the next day, the rivers rose another 2 meters. So we were very lucky. So when we came back from there, my brother decided to give school another go. He decided he wanted to be an industrial designer, or not precisely that, but he knew he wanted to do something to do with his schooling and study. So he jumped in at the middle of school and ended up getting a principal's recommendation to get into university, which he wouldn't have been able to get into otherwise. And when I came back, I decided, no, I'm not going back to school. No way in hell. So I started working full time. I had my first job at Donut King, which was a bit of an eye-opener. Ended up fired for being too sick to stand up. And yeah, that was not very good. But my second job working with horses at a racing stable was excellent. I actually learnt a lot and was treated like an adult for the first time, which was absolutely wonderful. We ended up then doing a second trip down south, which took us another 3 months. And yeah, that was when I first started really working with rescue horses, horses that had been through a lot of damage. Yeah, one of the first horses I got that was that perfect example was Cat's Eye. And, she came to us, we went to the Dogger sales to pick up a couple to do this next trip. And we weren't looking for anything too difficult, just, you know, effectively figuring that I would deal with whatever problems there were. And this mare, she was a nice looking mare, but she tried to kick the fella when he went into the yard, so no one wanted to buy her, so we ended up with her. When I brought her home, she